Hello, everyone, and welcome to RHAP. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and we are here today with the Roundtable podcast for Big Brother 26, the first of the season. This is, of course, the podcast where we talk about everything from the feeds, and we also rate the players based on how well we think they're doing in the game from 1 to 10, 10 being the best, 1 being the worst, and then it gets better. You can play along at home. You can buy and sell shares of the players week to week as they go up and down in the ratings. And you, too, have a say in what they are rated. As I sent out a survey earlier today on Twitter, if you would like to fill it out, you still have a little bit of time left if you want to rate the players yourself, as well as give some opinions in some of the other questions that we have for the survey. With me today, to talk through it all, it's Chantele. How you doing, Chantele?
I'm doing great. You know, it's always the summer of Big Brother, and the summer has definitely begun. This cast is casting. The madness is maddening. I'm excited to talk about these players, really get to know them a little bit better, because we're kind of learning about them for these past few days, and now we're kind of setting the base, the foundation of like how we're going to be watching them grow throughout the season. So I'm pretty excited to be here to kind of put the groundwork down for the next season. So happy to be here.
Yes, and also with us tonight, it's Maggie. How you doing, Maggie?
I'm thrilled. This is what summer is all about, baby. This is my happy place. This season we're 7 days in. It's full of cracked people. This is exactly what I'm looking for out of my Big Brother. This is what a first week of Big Brother should be. There should be a fight every single day on feeds that Taran has to reenact. Like, how does it get any better?
It's been quite the journey here in the first week of feeds. A lot has been happening, and quite frankly, I think when it comes to rating these players, I think a lot of it is going to feel like guesswork, but not because of a lack of content like some other times that we have done this, but instead just because there's so much going on and there's so little that's actually solidified that I think we might have a sense of who seems to be playing well and who seems to be in a good position, but those things could, I think, dramatically change by this time next week. And so there's a lot of speculation ahead, I think, as we talk through this week.
Yeah, that's definitely what I was thinking. I'm like, well, I don't really know. Like, are they actually in an alliance? Is this a real alliance? Or like, are they lying to each other? Like, we don't actually know the answers to some of these questions. So it's definitely, we're just throwing an idea out there as how we think they may be doing. But as you're saying, Taran, we likely could be very wrong.
And what's really fun is that sometimes, if anybody remembers, there was a week last season where Taran got on and gave Jag like a 9. And I was like, what? Because Jag positioning just couldn't be outdone. And I was like, but his game sense is so low. And like, what's fun about this podcast, or like this specific one, and where everybody lies, is like, nobody's position is solid at all. So we're kind of going off of vibes and game sense. Like, who do we think has it in them? And, you know, there are often times a lot of players who in this for the first few weeks were like, oh, they have it in them. And then it doesn't ever come to fruition. So I think like that'll be very reflective during this season, because I really am kind of going off of just like vibes. And if I think that you can cut it, you know, like if I think that you know what you're doing at all.
Who has curated the vibes the best?
Yeah.
And who has swallowed the least glitter? Two different ends of the spectrum.
We'll see. I wasn't sure we were going with different ends. I was like, wait, what? With the swallowing of the glitter? Anyways, sorry. That's where my mind went.
Well, let's do a brief recap of the week here, if such a thing can even be done, because we saw that Angela, the 50-year-old married mom, important distinction, won the first HOH. We also, by the way, discovered that she has been on many a show, including Dr. Phil and Wheel of Fortune, not Wheel of Fortune, Price is Right. And let's.
Phil? I thought it was Brooklyn who was on Dr. Phil.
Brooklyn has
Both.
also been on
Yes.
Dr. Phil.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe the same casting director has moved on to Big Brother.
Both married mothers. Who was the first married mother on Dr. Phil that also went on Big Brother? I don't know. That's a question for the people who watched the Dr. Phil episodes.
Mm.
Do you think this is why they bonded so quickly? It's because they both were on Dr. Phil?
Perhaps. Angela, I think I actually forgot to mention this in an update, but Angela talked to the cameras. It was probably yesterday, saying that she doesn't trust Brooklyn because she knows that she is Brooklyn's competition. And she knows that Brooklyn is her competition. So she knows that Brooklyn must also be thinking the same.
Angela's logic. I mean, I can understand her thinking that way, but how about we just make some bonds with some people, you know? Like
Oh, I can't wait to get to talking about these people individually. I got a lot to say.
So I just to briefly explain the Dr. Phil thing. I don't think I know enough about Dr. Phil to like make a definitive statement on how real it is, but like basically the story for Angela was that her daughter and her husband have been living in the same house for 5 years and haven't seen each other like once. The daughter like hides away from the father, and Dr. Phil was like, and the mom's enabling it. And then Dr. Phil like orchestrates the meeting of the two for the first time in 5 years, and they're like, oh my god, I haven't seen your face in 5 years. So it seemed very fake to me, but also like I don't know a lot about Dr. Phil, and also just like what is happening here? Like
what about birthdays, vacations? Like
she had her own separate holidays, Christmas trees, birthdays, everything.
Okay, that's actually bizarre, I would say.
No, it's also giving dark. Like, why won't the child see their father?
That was my first thought.
Like, what? Like,
and
that,
why are we forcing
Dr.
this to
Phil,
happen?
Yeah, and Dr. Phil is saying enabling. Like, I think that we got a problem on our hands, Dr. Phil, and it's not that the child is like, what?
Yeah, I mean, I watched listen, I don't want to dig too deep into this, but like it was on Dr. Phil and I'm very confused by it, but like the son was like, yeah, you do scare me sometimes, Dad.
Yeah, I mean, like clearly.
So I don't know. Everyone should watch it themselves and come to their own Dr. Phil conclusions, but it was a very strange situation.
Well, people's actions usually dictate something that they're feeling that they were trying to avoid.
According to the episode, the reason she's been hiding away from her father is that he threw her cell phone in the pool.
That's like what they're going to say on Dr. Phil.
Right.
But like 5 years of refusing to be in the same room as
it's wild. Also, I only watched the recap Dr. Phil episode on YouTube, not the official House Calls episode that is apparently $1.50 that I'm not going to spend.
How did we get here?
I don't know.
And sorry, this last question about this. How long ago was this, or is this current state?
I think this was like just a couple years ago. Like the people in the studio were wearing masks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So hate that. Absolutely hate that. I'm going to be honest. That's just, I'm kind of speechless. That's horrible.
And I might have to pay that $1.50 because I need to know a little bit more.
I need somebody to
I'll recap
it. Anyway, so Angela, the HOH, has been quite a wild ride in the house, and she decided she was going to nominate Kenney, Chemo, and Lisa, with her target being Kenney, and that was just because that was the most consensus of them all, and so she did so. But as we have seen in some of the episodes, There's a little bit of tension between her and Matt that eventually boiled over into a full-on call-out from the staircase landing. They've told me it's called a landing. But if I just said she stood on the landing, would you know what I was talking about in that house?
I would.
I would
Okay.
too.
Okay. Both of you said yes, but I was hoping that one of you would say no.
Sorry,
only
Karen.
because I have a landing where when I come up, like I step on a landing every single day. So
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, like, because you're from the East Coast, maybe it's just like I grew up in houses in the Midwest, and they all had like staircases with landings and like weird balconies, and
Yes, I think the key here is that I did not grow up in houses.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Fair statement.
But yes, listen. If somebody said that she made the speech on the landing, my first thought, I'm not gonna lie, would be like
a helicopter
on the
pad?
roof, like like a helicopter's. Like I didn't realize there
Come
was a
on.
landing on the Big Brother.
No, I'd
house.
100% know it was the stairs.
But she calls him out. She calls him crazy eyes. She says that he threatened her in their one-on-one. And most importantly to Matt, eventually has a comment about his mom and calls him a brat. And really, I mean, he's the one that brought his mom into it, but that's a whole other thing. In addition to all of this, though, she also calls out pretty much everyone who's been trying to work with her, because she says, hey, your performance when you tried to propose an alliance to me, yeah, it was great for a low budget movie, because she thinks it was all staged. And so
Hold on. She said it like this. She said, your performance was great for a low budget movie. That's the cadence. I have to. It was like, got him.
Boom.
I think I've said it different every time, because when I tried to repeat it from the accurate one, I just felt like I'm doing it too many times. So
Sure.
I've been altering the tone every time. But yes, they think that she thinks that everyone who's been trying to work with her is faking it, because they're actually working with Matt. And so that was the big call out. Of course, Lisa ends up winning the veto, not before becoming the target herself, by kind of like doing one-on-one campaigns with everyone and kind of turning some people off. However, having won the veto, she is now going to be able to pull herself off the block and be replaced with, of course, Matt. Now, there was some messiness in between there, but it eventually became irrelevant because Matt did go up on the block. And I guess the most relevant part is that Matt tried to suggest Tucker as a potential pawn. Tucker pretended to be okay with it, but is now secretly really mad at Matt and hates him, and has added him to the Arya Stark list that consists of Lisa, Matt, and more Lisa. So that's currently where all of that stands. Right now, Matt does feel fairly comfortable that he has the votes. He has a fake alliance, or at least most people in the alliance think it's fake, called the Barber Shop, which we can get into a little more in detail later. But he thinks that he will have the votes. In reality, he probably does not. Most people want to vote him out. But there are still some people that think that he might have the votes purely on the fact that he feels so comfortable that he does. And if he feels so comfortable, then maybe he's onto something. But the reality is, once again, that he very likely does have the votes to stay. However, there's a twist. Expect the unexpected.
Ooh.
This season on Big Brother, there are 3 nominees, as you might have noticed. And seemingly live on Thursday night before the vote, there will be an AI arena competition in which one of Matt, Chemo, or Kenney will remove themselves from the block, which is probably Matt's only hope to survive this week. And that would be music to Kenny's ears, as he would prefer to go home over Matt, because, as Angela says, he has no ambition. and he would like to go home for his daughter's birthday, and he thinks that Matt deserves to stay. And
We'll
that's what
probably
has
get more
happened
into that.
in the house.
Which is that last part though is the craziest part. But now my question is it going to be, do you think it's going to be a super physical AI competition on Thursday? Just because you would think that they would want to keep Matt in the house for the showmance of it all and for the drama with Angela.
I couldn't say. I mean, there are certainly ways to make a live competition very physical. We've seen that plenty of times. But it's harder. It's harder to do physical comps as live comps than it is to do like mental comps. But basically it's also like, where is it gonna take place? Is it going to be in the backyard and then they're gonna do the HOH competition in like the basement? Or are they gonna do it in the backyard and then have to reset for the HOH competition? Could it be tied into the HOH competition? There are all kinds of different logistic, I think, things that would get in the way here. Because theoretically, you could imagine a world where they don't even go into the backyard and they just do like a quiz comp from inside or something along those lines. Certainly, it doesn't feel like they could go to the basement if it's live. So I feel like it must be either backyard or something smaller. But you know, it's AI arena, so they probably want to have like some kind of big set, which to me would indicate more physical. But who knows at this point?
I don't know. I think they're going to want to keep him, so I think it's going to be physical. That's my bet.
All right. Well, I think the real question is how much Ainsley is going to be involved.
Is she still a thing? Like, haven't we lost that part of the twist yet?
They spent so much money on making something so bad. That's hard to do.
Do we think that this whole twist is going to be through the whole season, or is it just this first week? Like, how long did they ever say how long it was going to last?
Well, here's the thing. And I'm not sure how much this was talked about on the Sunday recap, but there were 6 total icons for powers in the upgrade selection.
Okay.
And this definitely feels like it was something that they were told is something that will continue to happen. So theoretically, if you give out 2 upgrades per week and there were 6, then you have at least 3 weeks of upgrades, perhaps more. And then, you know, with the upgrades likely also comes the AI arena. The AI arena could theoretically continue to sort of last beyond as well. So, and maybe it's not 2 upgrades a week. Maybe it's 2 in the first one because of the 2 groups, but then it's 1 upgrade per week from here. And so there's an additional 4 weeks left of AI upgrades in AI arena, which would track a bit with ending it in, you know, the 5th week of game.
Got it. I can see that being how it goes down for sure.
Can I say something controversial and yet
Ooh, you love it. You love Ainsley.
Look, hate Ainsley, actually like actively hate whatever the blue animation situation is. But in terms of twists that we've had thus far, like it could have been worse. In my opinion.
We haven't seen this one fully play out yet, though. We could actually really hate it.
You're right. I just like, I don't know, like it's not festy besties, you know, like it's like there's things that are like so game breaking. It's not can't come back, you know, it's just people have one extra chance to save themselves. And like, all right.
I agree, actually. I think that there's room for this to work. I think the key to it working is that the comps need to, like, it's even more important that the comps are equitable. It's even more important that, like, you know, basically in a world where Heisem is in the house and Heisem has won every competition he's played in, and you need to backdoor him. You don't allow him to compete in any competition before you get him out. In a world where he is guaranteed to compete in at least one competition, and that one competition is a 1 in 3, like he's now nearly impossible to get out. Maybe he gets drawn for the veto. He gets to play in that too. Like that's brutal. And then if there's more than one Heisem around, like, yeah, you could stick all of them in the AI arena competition. But now you have two of them coming back at you, and they're strong competitors, and they are going to win the age. So it's very important that the competitions are fair, and that anybody can win them. And if that is the case, there are some potential benefits to this. I've talked a little bit about some of them already, like the fact that if you don't know who the two final nominees are going to be until right before the vote, then blindsides are a lot more likely to happen, because it's harder to ruin a blindside when you don't even know who the people on the block are going to be. It's not like you're going to go up to Matt right before the vote on Thursday and be like, all right, Matt, I just need to tell you, I am in fact voting you out. And then he wins the AI arena. And it's like, well, that was pointless. Why would you do that?
I mean, it's like a little bit double eviction vibe with like, it's so fast. You don't get the time to talk to anyone and you just kind of have to go. And obviously like people can plan beforehand, but it is a little bit like if you finish the AI arena and immediately go inside and vote, like that's exciting.
And it also allows you to have like a hinky vote and be like, oh my God, I just didn't know what to do. Like I got stressed out. Like it wasn't who we thought was going to be on the block. And so you can, maybe vote differently than you might have promised. So
I also think that they are just like trying now what they were going to do in BB24 with the like backstage and then like the competition, you know what I mean? Like backstage boss thing. Like this is a variation on that a little bit, in my opinion.
I can see that,
but
yeah,
a
because
better version.
Yeah,
how did that go
again? They're
again?
gonna have one. There are three. Yeah,
it didn't because Paloma
left. But what was supposed to happen?
So there were three people backstage, and I think it was Pooch was going to choose to save one of them, and then the like remaining two were going to battle it out for like who leaves or whatever. I think was the intended thing.
We'll never know.
Maybe we will.
Or no, I think it was the person who was voted out competed against the person that Pooch chooses to compete.
For backstage.
Yes. So it was, sorry. It was America votes to save one.
Right.
Then Pooch was going to choose between the remaining two for who to compete against the person who got voted out. So theoretically, it would have been Alyssa or Paloma versus Taylor in the part one of the second HOH, which is why we say like, oh well, Taylor would have crushed either one of them. And so so it's a similar kind of thing where there's kind of like a last minute competition to determine who actually leaves. But this is actually a lot better than that, because the competition comes first and then there's a vote and you can plan for it. And so there's that. There's the fact that like, there are certainly a bunch of ramifications, but like not all of them are just immediately beneficial to large alliances like most of the twists they introduce. There's certainly a world where this could help big alliances, but like it's vague enough and has enough potential upsides that I'm not mad at trying it. And the thing about this sort of thing is like if it goes wrong, just kill it like you did the takeovers. As opposed to like, oh well, we're in the middle of great gameplay and we're introducing a terrible twist. Like this isn't right now prohibiting a lot of things. There was a chance that like maybe Angela takes the shot at Matt a little earlier if she's not worried about the AI comp, and that is concerning. But if the comps continue to be equitable, I think that dies down a little bit. She's not as scared to put up Matt and Mackenzie if it's not like a guarantee in her mind that at least one of those comps is going to be physical enough for them to win. So all of this to say, I don't think they're going to make the comps super equitable, and so I do think this twist has a large chance of failure. But the twist itself may not be a problem. It's likely more the comps that will be the problem.
I see it.
So this is where we're at. Should we do some survey questions?
Oh yeah, fun.
All right.
I have no idea.
The survey, I believe, has closed, and there have been quite a lot of responses. So let's start with the player ranking, not rating, but ranking. Who is
like
your
favorite?
favorite? who is your favorite player? I asked the audience, and I asked them to rank the players from their favorite to the least favorite. And so I have a list in front of
Okay.
me, and
I'm
I
trying
would
to-
love to know from the two of you, who do you
I
think
think
is in the top spot?
Tucker.
I think Quinn.
Chantele
Oh,
is correct. Quinn, number 1. Let's go number 2. Who's number 2?
Ooh.
It's not Tucker, because if it was Tucker, Taran would have told us. It would have been like 1 and 2. Chelsea?
That's who I was going to say.
I was going
I'll
to
go
say
Chelsea.
because the audience, y'all are. I guess you guys aren't looking for fun. 'Cause you're picking Quinn.
No, I was
you pick the people
testing.
you like.
I was testing your conviction. It was Tucker. You should have stuck with your
Ah, Taran! I thought I had such a good read.
All right, final one for the top spots. Who's number 3?
So can we go with the same logic? Is it not Chelsea? I'll stick with Chelsea then.
What's wrong with Angela?
Chantele, 2 for 3. It was Chelsea. Top 3, Quinn, Tucker, Chelsea. I will say Leah very close behind Chelsea. They're basically tied.
Angela is number 3 in my heart. Okay.
All right. Who is the bottom? Who's the bottom spot here on the player ranking favorite list?
Kenney?
I agree with Kenney.
You are both correct. Kenney at the bottom. Not really giving anything. Also wants to go home. Kenney. Second to last. Who's the second to last spot?
I think Maddie Boy might be sitting there.
Okay, but like, yes, I agree, Chantele. But also, like, what fun. Guys, come on, what fun.
Who are you,
So
are you
have
agreeing?
you
Yeah,
agree
I
with that?
agree, but I don't agree, but I
With
do
your
think it's
heart?
probably Matt.
Yes. You were
It
both
is.
correct. Matt was second to last. All right, final one. Third to last.
Ooh.
Mackenzie.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You're both once again correct. Bottom 3, Mackenzie, Matt, Kenney. We can do this. Basically, they're each given a score from essentially 1 to 16. And the bottom score was a 2.7. The top score was a 13.5. What score do you think Angela got?
Like out of faves?
Like out of that range of numbers, what score do you think she had?
I think she'd live in like the 5.6 zone.
I'm a little confused about the question. Is it like this specific question in the survey?
Like if you were to rate her 1 to 16, what number would you
Oh.
place
Yes.
her at as an average?
With higher being better.
like in terms of how much you like her or how good she is at Big Brother?
How she placed in the favorite ranking.
Okay. I think you're probably right, Chantele.
I might be completely. Maybe people love her, and maybe she's
I think
number
I would
5.
say like right in the middle of the road, like 7, because some people probably like her, some people probably hate her, and they even each other out.
She had a 9.3.
Ooh, go Angela.
Now, to be fair, it's a pretty top-heavy scoring cast. Basically, from Cam to Tikor. Cam, Joseph, Cedric, Tikor all have 9.6s. Then Angela and
Yeah.
Chemo are both tied just below at 9.3. So the overall placement is actually like fairly low, but the score is still decently high. The bottom like really bottoms out. Once you get to Lisa, Mackenzie, Matt, Kenney, like they drop way low. So this is the final list. It's Quinn at the top, followed by Tucker, Chelsea, Leah, Cam, Joseph, Cedric, Tikor, Angela, Chemo, Rubina, Brooklyn,
Forgot about her.
Lisa, Mackenzie, Matt, Kenney,
Oh, so they don't like Rubina and Brooklyn
or Lisa.
or Lisa. Oh no, Lisa I can understand, but Rubina seems
No.
Whoa.
Come on, guys. Get with it. How fun. Don't you like fun?
I think they like Tucker,
Yeah.
and
I like
therefore don't like Lisa.
Oh my gosh, but come on. Don't we want just like Turner
I
versus
mean-
Jasmine? Like this is that.
I do like Tucker's rants about Lisa. That's kind of fun.
They are fun. They're fun. Very interesting to see where this moves, because this is something that would normally shift pretty dramatically after the first week or so. So we'll keep an eye on the favorite player ranking, especially as things solidify strategically. I did ask the audience to rate the episodes this week, and the audience gave the episodes a 5.9 out of 10. So pretty bad.
I think it's the second episode was the one that probably brought it down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say I feel like that's pretty high for us watching the exact same episode 2 nights in a row.
Well, I think the Sunday episode kind of brought it back up a little bit. I think the first episode was like, this is a slightly better premiere than normal. Then the second episode was like, this is garbage. What have we done? And then the third episode was like, oh, okay, this was actually pretty good, but maybe a little long. And so that's, I think it averaged out to roughly just above a 5, just above that neutral position. For what it's worth, season 25 had a 6.1 for the first week of episodes. So there you go.
I'm trying to remember it. I'm like, we got introduced with Sari, but yeah, maybe it was boring though. I don't remember now.
I also asked the audience to rate the feeds this week. And the feeds were given an 8.7.
Wow.
8.7.
Yeah.
I thought it'd been a low 8, but a high 8? That's great.
High 8, which is high praise considering that I have to imagine that some of the frustration about flashbacks is baked into this rating. For reference, season 25, 9.2 was the first week of feeds rating.
It was also thrilling.
Yes, also a very good week of feeds. In addition to the fact that you could actually watch most of them. So that's helpful.
I have to say, I was at a bachelorette party this weekend, and 4 of us gathered around the phone to watch the clips of the Angela fight. That's how good the feeds were, is we stopped what we were doing to be like, let's watch, gasping at the Angela call out on the landing. It was thrilling.
Yeah.
I would like to see a reenactment from you though, on TikTok or something, please, Maggie. I want like full costume reenactment. Like I want like a live performance.
Crazy eyes.
That was not enough actual pulling of the eyes. There you go. I asked the audience to rate the season as a whole so far, and they gave the season a 7.9, which is very good. Again, for comparison, last season was an 8.5 at this point. So I don't think that this season has been considerably or like really much worse than last season in terms of early stuff. I think that the things that last season had going for it were that Sari was there, and that there was no frustration with the feed stuff. And I think those two things basically, I would say alone, were the major causes of this being slightly lower, but still overall very high in terms of a start to a season.
Yeah, I was going to say 8, and so 7.9. That's pretty close to what I was thinking. But like, I'm happy that it's like starting off really well. It just would be so lovely if I could freely watch the feeds like I'm used to, you know? It's just, it makes it so much difficult to enjoy it as I like.
It is. I feel underprepared. I mean, I was asked to do a peek behind the curtain. I was asked to do this podcast like very last minute, but I feel underprepared because I usually would go back and watch a bunch of hours of feeds, but I haven't been able to because I'm working a full-time job. So yeah, it is like sad that we just have to rely on the clips. It sucks.
Well, there are some more ratings that I had the audience give. Rate Angela's HOA train. Now, I want to give you the reference here first. Last season, I asked the audience to rate Riley's HOA train. They gave Riley's HOH a 4.1 out of 10.
Okay.
Not great. Not great.
Okay, but Riley left with an alliance.
She did.
And she also
She
left
was evicted
with
soon
2
after, though.
Yeah.
or 3.
But she at least had like a solidified alliance.
Very true. Well, here's what the audience has to say, Maggie. They rated Angela's HOH reign
Lower.
a 4.9.
Whoa.
Guys, look. Okay. When you're talking about your faves, suddenly this energy isn't there. But when you're talking about gameplay, come on, let's be real. I'll take it up with you in the Stockwatch, but be real. Come on.
We got 10s across the board for Maggie, for Angela.
No. 10 for entertainment.
I asked the audience to rate the AI arena twist and the upgrade downgrade twist. The AI arena was given a 4.7, fairly neutral overall. I think people are just kind of probably waiting to see how it plays out. The upgrade downgrade was a 4.5, slightly lower, but also fairly neutral in terms of twist ratings. For reference, the opening night nomination twist of Big Brother 25 was given a 3.7. So that was not quite as the audience was not quite as open-minded to those. But the audience is very open-minded to these, so it'll be very interesting to see how they rate them after these things play out more.
Well, one thing though that I kind of wish that both of the powers of the upgrades were similar in like power. They're very inequitable, I would say. And so I think that would be one way that would be like he only had to compete against one person, if I'm not mistaken, and he gets like a pretty substantially good power, and hers is okay. So yeah, I would like them to have been equitable.
What can you do? Finally, I asked, who do you want to be evicted this week? Between Matt, Kenney, and Chemo.
Kenney.
Who you guys,
They
you
want
think
Kenney.
Kenney?
They want Kenney. They want to keep Matt around. They like the drama, I think. Enough. Come on, Maggie. I thought you were going for the drama.
No, I mean I am, but I don't know if the audience is.
But Kenney wants to quit. Do you think they want to
Kenney.
keep a quitter?
No, Kenney.
Well, I can tell you, Chemo had 3% of the vote.
Yeah.
Matt and Kenney are split by only 1%.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me, actually.
Kenney has 48% of the vote, and Matt has 49% of the vote.
Wow.
Well, they still want to go. More
Very
than
split.
a quitter?
Very split. So yeah, the audience is just like Kenney gives nothing, but like I think Matt is kind of like the more exciting pick to leave, even though here's the thing, and I'll say this about like Matt brings the drama. Like he brings the drama right now when Angela's HOH, but like, what happens when him and Mackenzie start trading comps? You know what I mean? Is it gonna still be drama? I'm not sure.
When they start trading comps and swapping spit.
They're going to say, yeah, saliva.
Right.
And we all got to talk about it in the mornings. Yeah.
But I also agree that like what is Kenney gonna do for us? Also, like what are we gonna? I don't know.
I mean, we got to celebrate his daughter's birthday. Was it on Rockstar's daughter's birthday as well? Did someone? I think I heard that. I feel like
that was when Angela called out Matt.
Yeah.
It was on Rockstar's daughter's birthday.
Yes.
Sorry.
All right. Are we ready to rate the players?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay. Let's pull up this little chart that we got here. This is, of course, the portion of the podcast where we rate the players from 1 to 10. Again, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. There's no official criteria for this. It can be vibes. It can be based on current positioning, long-term positionings, how safe they are in the house, how much we like the decisions that they made this week. It's really a free-for-all, and the audience has a say as well. So we are going to start the ratings with our HOH, Angela, who has had quite the reign here. I mean, how do you rate Angela as the HOH? She's certainly made a bit of a target of herself, but at the same time, she's not a typical HOH where I think a lot of people are going to be worried that she's going to win more competitions. If you have the expectation that that you'll get the normal competitions, then Angela's not that threatening in terms of like, is she going to win more? That said, she has certainly not taken advantage of her position as HOH nearly to the degree that she should be. She had the ability to not only take part in, but also create numerous alliances at this point, most of which she's actively declined and outright like made fun of. Like, you guys are idiots if you think I'm stupid enough to believe you want to work with me, basically. Like, that's a pretty wild thing to say. So strategically, this has not really gone very well for her in my eyes. And Angela in power, while very entertaining, is probably not very effective as an HOH. Again, all that said, is she going to be like actively targeted next week? Well, certainly. She certainly could if like Matt wins the AI arena and then he's still got himself and Mackenzie. But you know, I think there are still other potential targets there if that's the case. So I am going to go with a 3 for Angela. It's just some wild calls, wild decisions. The whole thing we didn't go over with her believing that T-Core had volunteered as a pawn is not a promising start to her game, because this is just the beginning.
Yes, it's just the beginning. And so I mean, I'm really excited for Angela, you know, the fact that she's a super fan and then she's like the first head of household and it's kind of her dream and she, you know, she's really excited by it. So I was all for her having this role and position. Is going to be a new way to start the week. But unfortunately, the way that she plays the game is not one of what I could see as a winner. I just don't see her being able to get to the end of this game. The fact that she kind of sets out fear on people, I think it could be her version of HOH-itis, like the fear that like, oh, I see you walking in the room, I see you talking to people, and always calling out people's actions and what they're doing and making supreme judgments on what people are doing and saying, even if they're not true, and then not believing them when they tell the truth. And so I feel that she might become, or might have already become, a person that people don't feel settled around. They don't want to, they don't feel comfortable around. Whether, I don't know if it's going to be different when she's not in power, but I can also see her having that desperation energy, being like, don't put me up, just let me stay here till jury. And I'm not sure people are going to want to tolerate her energy. But she's not a scary player in terms of competition. So likely she might stick around a little while until like maybe she needs to be used as a pawn and then somebody is liked more than she is and she goes home. So I am going to agree with you still with the 3 for Angela, but I would say it's a low 3.
All right, Maggie.
Okay, I have to say I'm completely obsessed with Angela. Like, she needs to stay on the show for as long as humanly possible. Like, Rob and I said one time on the slop, if you're not a patron of RHAP, become a patron so that you can listen to the slop. There was a point many years ago where Rob and I basically were like, why aren't there more cracked old people on the show? Like, where are the Jerrys? Where are the Rennies? Bring them back. The Miss Felicias. And Angela is the answer to our prayer. Not that I think that she's old, like she's like 50. That's not old. But compared to the rest of the cast, I'm obsessed with her. She's horrible at Big Brother. She's abysmal. That's why I'm obsessed with her. She is emotional in the way that it is not controllable. There are emotional players that you can work with. Hello?
You're good.
I froze. Did I freeze?
You're
Okay.
frozen, but we can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, there are emotional players that you can work with, but she is not one of them. And she has shown, I'm like just coming back still frozen.
We can still hear you.
Okay. She has shown that like she's vindictive. And that is a different type of player. Like that is the Abby Maria on Survivor, where she decides that your PG took her bracelet, so she wants her out and has a laser beam focused on that forever. Like what she did with Matt was wild and like really not good gameplay at all. And I would be concerned that like she's not controllable or workable, if that makes sense. And yes, she is not in a position right now, like her positioning is not that bad, but she has shown that she's emotional enough that like she could get herself into a position where people are just like, can't take this anymore. You know? I love her. I don't want anybody to get that twisted. I think that she's unbelievable television and unbelievable Big Brother, but I'm gonna have to give her a 2 because she is leaving this week with no alliances because she actively has rejected them. There is no structure in the house because she actively has rejected it. And you know, Taran, you're saying like she's the type of player that is like people aren't scared of her, but like she's not the type of player that if you think she can't win competitions is going to add value. So sometimes like you might be like, she's so emotional and causing all of these issues. And like, what is she giving me? So I see people in the chat saying I'm hating on her. I'm not. I'm talking honestly about her.
I mean, you
gameplay.
are
I love
hiding your video in shame, so
And you completely, shamed us for not thinking that she was amazing, and then you vote lower than us. Wow.
Well, no, I mean, I was saying if favorites, vote Angela as she's like my number 1 favorite on the season so far. I'm saying gameplay wise, when people rated her HOH the same as Riley, like that's why I was trying to be like, Riley had an alliance that she created that was solid. And the winner of the season was from that alliance. Like, come on.
And when Riley got a 3, is that what it was? It was a 3 as well? Oh, 4.
8 or something.
are you talking about her HOH rating?
Mm-hmm.
Riley's HOH rating was a 4.1. And
Yeah, this will be worse.
4.9.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But the audience does also give a player rating, and the player rating for Angela was a 3.
We're the voice of the people today, Taran.
So this is the thing. The audience found her to be a better HOH than player. I actually feel the opposite. I feel like her HOH reign was awful. But as a player, she might be okay. Not as in terms of like a player, but like in terms of her positioning moving forward post HOH, I think she might have some legs. But like in terms of making the best use of her HOH, terrible. Definitely one of the worst.
Not good. Not good.
Not good. All right. Well, let's move on then to Brooklyn. Chantele, what are your thoughts on Brooklyn?
Well, the thing is that I don't have too many thoughts about Brooklyn. In the beginning of the week, I was a little bit more excited before the reign of Angela really went in, with having them come together, wanting to work together, the moms and wives. And, I thought that this might be good. And then as the week goes on, it seems like people like her. She is invited into other alliances, but she doesn't seem to be doing that much that I've seen. Obviously, I don't have all the information because I haven't been able to watch everything as I have been in the past. But I'm just curious as to, the fact that she was rated so low in the player ranking by when people did the survey. So I didn't rate her very high, but not very low. I kind of have her in the middle because I don't really know her gameplay, or I don't know what her strategy fully is. She kind of just seems to be laying low, laying back, not wanting to be seen with like, as the mediator with Matt and Angela in the storage room. Like she kind of is sticking to herself. But I don't really know from what I've seen where she wants to go. So I still think that she's liked. I don't remember hearing or seeing anything of her being disliked by anything. So anyone. So I have her at 5, right in the middle.
All right, Maggie.
Okay. Brooklyn strikes me, and like again, I don't have enough. I will stick by what I said about Angela. We saw a lot of Angela this week. Like, I don't feel like I have enough information about Brooklyn to know for sure. I hope that, she can surprise me, or, maybe not hope, because I'm not going to say anything negative. She strikes me as the type of player that like would be a really loyal soldier. Like somebody who would get into an alliance and be like, I'm riding with my alliance, like sort of like a Christmas vibe. You know what I mean? Like, these are my people. I'm comfortable to sit here and chill with my people. And maybe she could do some maneuvering later, but she feels like she would be a really like solid alliance number, but somebody who ends up kind of at the bottom of like a bigger sort of oniony alliance. People want to include her in things. I don't know if she'll get left behind when the house does solidify. I think that remains to be seen. And just because she has been like included in a decent amount of stuff, she has made decent like one-on-one connections with people. So I am gonna give her a 6. I'm not like insanely confident. I think it's like 5 is just like average player, and she's at least doing a little bit more than average, so that's why I'm giving her a 6.
All right, well, the audience does agree with Maggie. They gave Brooklyn a 6 as well. And I was going back and forth between 5 and a 6 on Brooklyn, mostly because I think that she is well positioned in terms of like they're just in general, people kind of like her, and she seems fine. But in terms of like activity, like is she actively pursuing these positions? Is she actively trying to work her spot in the game? I'm not seeing a lot of it. That might just be because there's only so much that we can see in a house with this many people right now. But the thing that I tried to look out for in the early weeks of the game is not just who's in a good position, but also how did they get there and what are they doing with it? Because there are a lot of people that will start the game in a really good position and then eventually find themselves completely locked out of the game because they just kind of lucked into the position in the first place. And when I say lucked in, I don't mean that she didn't work to get there, but like they don't do anything to like solidify that position or actively make use of it.
Yeah, I think that's a very like apt thing to notice, because I don't think it's necessarily luck. I think it's like people who are really likable and like fun to be around and chill. Oftentimes people want to work with them. And Brooklyn seems like all of those things. And you're right. It's just a matter of like, do people have that killer instinct and the ability to play versus just being like a cool, likable person that people like to be around?
Exactly. That said, what I have seen from her when she is talking game, I do like. She is involved in what is probably one of the more solid alliances right now. And I know that she's a fan of the game, and therefore I think at least a little more likely to be able to parlay this kind of position into something better in the future. So I will go like I will give her the 6, but it's like you better earn this. Like, like this is not you're not locked in here. So that's how I feel about Brooklyn. Maggie, how do you feel about Cam?
Okay. So I think that Cam is one of those people that we were just talking about. Somebody that everybody wants to work with. Everybody wants to be around. I don't know, like game sense wise, how strong he is, but like every single alliance, everybody wants to include him. And the strongest power structure right now, the like sort of trio of Cam, Cedric, and Chelsea, like the ones to watch. I think that that's really good for him. I think that this sort of, you know, it was like Cam, Quinn, Tucker, you know, today, right, Taran, that this alliance, am I wrong?
Yes, I mean the Have Not Alliance
Yeah.
is coming together, yes.
Like I think that he is positioned really nicely. He's athletic. He has the ability to win these competitions. He has shown to be level-headed, you know, talk less, smile more type vibe from him, which I do like. I haven't heard a ton about like his plans, you know, like what he's looking to do. This is really hard. I don't want to go too low. Like I'm willing to have my mind changed by you guys in this conversation, because he's somebody who I really like feel that another week of feeds, I would have a much greater handle on him and like the level of game he's playing. And my instinct is to be a little more conservative. So I'm going to give him a 7. Again, I'm willing to have my mind changed if you think that he should be higher. But that's where I'm going to stay for now.
All right. Well, the audience agrees once again. They also gave Cam a 7. And I'm also inclined to give Cam a 7, especially if Brooklyn is a 6. I think Cam has to be a 7. I think that Cam is better positioned than Brooklyn is. I think that you know, between the core, the Have Not Alliance, he's part of the Pentagon, and he is very well liked. In addition to that, all of that, if the competitions end up being what they have been for the last, you know, 5 to 8 years, then he's probably going to start doing pretty well in them eventually, and nobody's really concerned about that right now. The downsides are, once again, he's not super active, a bit more than I've seen Brooklyn be, but also he doesn't have as much knowledge about the game as Brooklyn might. So there are some pros and cons, but I think his position right now is very stable and steady. And he seems like a stable and steady player as well. And so I think that that is all very promising. In terms of a first week for a player like Cam, this is like pretty much everything you'd probably want to see at this point, except for maybe a bit more game knowledge. But Chantele, what do you think?
Well, okay, so you guys are being so generous. I'm going to see if I'm going to talk myself into your generosity, or if I'm going to stay with my sternness. With, you know, it's hard to rank the first week because you don't know if how they're playing is going to work out for them. So you're just kind of like, well, we don't know if he's going to actually do well, and so I don't know if I should be conservative or if I should, you know, kind of go closer to where you guys are at. I really like Cam. I think he's really good looking. I was like, on camera, I'm like, wow, his good looks is really improved in live. And I think that he's really well liked with everybody. I see him playing like patty cake type games with Leah. Like, he's having different conversations with people. He's always seemingly being welcome into all these different groups, which I think is really, really great. But what just plagues the back of my mind is the fact that, wasn't he saying in his like pre-interviews that when I first learned about the game, and I just don't know if, unless he's just able to win, if he's going to be able to do well with the fact that he's involved in all these different alliances and he's well liked and well positioned. So I might have to keep us conservative here. And because I gave Brooklyn the 5, I do think that he's playing a better game than Brooklyn. So I'm going to go 1 up from Brooklyn's 5 to a 6. I think I still have to stay there for him, just because I'm not sure of his game ability. But my mind can be changed.
No, I think
Okay.
that's really fair. And I also think that it's one of those things where like people like Cam, who what we were sort of describing, like people really like, want to hang out with, want to keep around, like they have a little more wiggle room in the game to learn the game. I feel like somebody like Matt from last season is somebody like that. Like he was well liked enough that he had the time and space to sort of like pick up what he was doing. Kyle from BB24 also, like I think he came in not really knowing a ton about the game and then was one of like the people being like, let's do the leftovers, you know. I think that it'll remain to be seen like what he's going to be able to do, but I don't think that that's wrong at all, Chantele. Then very fair to give him a 6.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if I was going to be swayed, you know, with those 7s. I'm like, no, I'm sticking with it.
Okay, well, let's move on then to Cedric. Cedric, who the audience will start with Cedric, and the audience gave Cedric a 6. 6 for Cedric. And honestly, I'm again kind of inclined to agree here. I think that Cedric, like Cam, is very well placed. Slight spoilers for the 3 C's here, but like I think the 3 of them are the tightest alliance at this point and the most powerful. You know, the Pentagon is sort of the next step of that, but the Have Not Room is now starting to also gain their own power. But the thing is about the 3 C's, the core, is that they are basically in everything else, for at least one of them. And so the 3 of them is the three of them can do very well if they stick together. They have been maintaining their connection for now. We'll see if that maintains, but I think that Cedric being there is actually very good for him, of course. And I do think that after the first night of feeds, where it was looking a little iffy on Cedric, he has been doing pretty well overall. The thing that I'm worried about with Cedric is the Quinn thing. That Quinn doesn't seem to be super fond of Cedric. Quinn is one of the other more powerful players in the game right now and has that really powerful deepfake HOH power. And so that is something I think to be concerned about for Cedric. But for now, I will give him the 6 here. Chantele, what do you think?
What's his game knowledge? Him and Chelsea, what are their game knowledge? Like, I'm just curious with the 3 of them.
Chelsea is a big fan. Cedric, I believe, is much less of a fan. I think he probably did some research like Tucker and some others. But there is suspicion that he knows more than he's letting on, but I don't think he actually does.
I don't think so. From what I've seen anyways. I really like Cedric. I agree. You know, the fact that he's in a pretty darn good position. I do worry about the Quinn thing because I think Quinn has a lot of influence. He has that superpower, and the fact that for whatever reason, I haven't seen it, maybe you can enlighten me, but why he doesn't have any trust for Cedric. I think that he's been really great with Angela. You know, he's able to have these conversations with her, checking in on her, making her feel comfortable and like she has a friend. And I think that that's a really great quality for him to be having, because he could see that Angela might need, you know, somebody just to talk to and hang out with. And so I think that his social game is really, really, really strong. The fact that he can't vote, it wasn't fully his fault, but he can't vote, so he can't really make any sort of decisions this week. And so I couldn't go as high as the 7. So I'm agreeing with you, Taran, with the 6 for him, just because I think he's in a good position. I think that he's well liked, and I think that he's possibly could do well further along. And so yes, 6 again for me.
All right, Maggie.
Okay, like I'm amazed at the way Cedric and Chelsea have handled their downgrade. Like, truly so impressed with them. The fact that like it seems like Cedric just stayed calm. And like that's the thing. Angela did the exact opposite. She like did not stay calm. It was like a runaway train. You know what I mean? But like Cedric was able to really like if I was in that position, I think I would have gotten really anxious and paranoid, and the fact that he's been able to stay calm the way that he has, being like, he's very young, he's 21. Like I'm very impressed with the way that he and Chelsea both have handled this week that they have. And I think I have to stick with the 6 that you guys have, but I feel promising about Cedric. I do. I feel like if we're talking vibes, like he's somebody who I did not like on first glance, like on the first episode, in the interviews and stuff. I did not think that he would have, because he's young and he's like on TV. Like I didn't know that he would have the restraint that he has like clearly shown to have in terms of just like being able to chill and stay really in control of himself. And I'm very impressed with him, and I'm excited to see what he can do. I'm interested. That's all.
All right. Well, let's then move on to the third of the C's. It's Chelsea. And in many ways, perhaps the most promising of the 3. I think that her social positioning is probably maybe not quite on par with Cam, considering Cam's involvement in the Have Not Alliance. So maybe not quite as much there, but strategically, definitely a lot more active and knowledgeable. And so for those reasons, I think Chelsea is a very definitely a player to keep an eye on here. Somebody who is certainly potentially capable of winning competitions. Somebody who is active, knowledgeable, socially very good, and who overcame a pretty significant disadvantage. And the same can be said of Cedric. But Chelsea, I think even more so, as Chelsea was like really in there in ways that Cedric wasn't, and really was like somebody that everyone was trying to pull in. And the only person that's even said anything about her at this point was Matt, who still wants to work with her, even though she is one of the driving voices against him right now. I think that Chelsea, for me, is the star player of the week, and I think that like the ratings in the Stockwatch. I don't want anyone to be like, well, last season you gave somebody this, and this season you. The way that I am currently doing things is that it's a little more relative to the current situation. And right now, there is no like dominating player that I'd give like a 9 or a 10, because that's not how this season is playing out. This season, the best players right now, I think, are players like Chelsea, who she has a finger in every pot. She's a promising player. And so for those reasons, I'm going to give her an 8.
Okay, I agree with everything that you said about Chelsea. I'm excited to see her play. I'm happy that she's well positioned. I'm really pleased because I don't really necessarily enjoy a power first week for making the right decision in like a competition at the beginning of this show, and she loses her right to vote, right to play in the head of household. Like all that's terrible. And so the fact that she was able to overcome that, because everybody could have just been like, Angela, let's just get the people that can't do anything about it, put them up on the block, and who cares? Let's get them out. Like, we don't know anybody yet anyways. And she was able to overcome that and then also be positioned really, really well. I do trust in her gameplay. I'm excited to see how well she does when she does have some power, when her voice we know that her voice is going to be heard, but like where she could actually be making moves that will be able to better position herself. I think that's really fun to see, like, okay, what's she going to be able to do when she has all like the tools? So I can't go with the 8 because I understand how you are doing your ratings, but I still feel that she's at a 7 in what I've seen her perform. But 7's still pretty good. And then she has some room to grow. So 7.
All right. Maggie.
Yeah. If I'm impressed with Cedric, I'm like even more impressed with Chelsea, because she knows what she's doing. Like she really obviously does. Taran, you being like she's the star player of the week, 1,000,000%. And this is where like I feel the really big difference in pace comes into play when it comes to like these shows like Survivor versus Big Brother, because in Survivor, somebody loses their vote, somebody loses their ability to help you in the game. Like people really might just vote them out because they're like, whatever, like you're not useful to me. But because Big Brother is such a long game and Chelsea has been able to show people the value that she has, like, yeah, even though I don't have value this week, within the first 3 days, she was able to show people that she had enough value that they would want to keep her around. And so I'm going to also go with an 8.
All right. Well, the audience gave Chelsea a 7.
Woo!
They agreed with Chantele. Okay. So, I'm working on getting the average bar working. In the meantime, I'm hiding it from you. But I like this. I'm trying to get some separation here from these players, and so I think we're getting some good separation so far. Let's move on to Joseph. Chantele, how do you feel about Joseph?
I actually don't know any. Like I thought in the beginning, I was like, "Ooh, Joseph is going to be a good player." Like he's had such promise, and then it seems like all of a sudden he's worried about being put up on the block by Angela, and people like going, and he might go. And I'm like, "Wait, what? When did this happen? What happened to him?" Me thinking that he was in a good position. So I like the last day when I was fully like really invested in watching, I didn't see him doing much or having that many conversations, and that worries me a little bit. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go in the middle of the road for Joseph here. I just like I think that he has potential, but I don't really know how he kind of fumbled the bag, but it could just be the whole Angela effect, right? Like she made an assumption and he didn't really defend himself well. And all of a sudden he's in her bad books. And you know what I mean? He just wasn't able to get out of whatever she was thinking about him. So I want to give him like another week. Maybe I can see better how he's playing. But for this week, I just got to give him a 5 because I think he's middle of the road this week.
All right, Maggie.
Yeah, I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to do 5. Joseph is someone I think who could benefit so much from winning this next HOH. Like it could turn his entire game around to get a little bit of power, to get people talking to him. You know what I mean? He's got a lot of ideas. I don't know if he has the social ability to execute. And I think that is sometimes the thing that trips players like Joseph up, is that like, it's very smart, got interesting ideas, doing some fun stuff, but like not quite sure if the skill set, the outward skill set matches what's going on up there. You know what I mean? I really hope he can figure it out. I am super hopeful because I enjoy him a lot and I really am actively rooting for him. Mm-hmm. Like out of all the people that I'm like rooting for, I think he's probably number 1 on my list. Like I would love to see him pull away. But these types of players, like I know people compared him to like Matt Hoffman. I think like a little James Ryan, like a little like these types of players with ideas, but like some social, they aren't the people that everybody's coming to all the time. They aren't the Cams of the season, if that makes sense. I'm just interested. I hope that he can. I'm rooting for him, but I'm going to give him a
bestie in the house like right now, right? Because he was only in that one alliance with the big alliance with Angela, and I don't know if that's still a thing. Is he have any?
He's still very tied to Angela publicly, but he does have a relationship with Tucker. He's definitely talked with like Chemo and T-Core and Chelsea. Like he's still in the mix. But he definitely took some heat. And it's really like it's I think a testament to how poorly he kind of played the Matt situation, that he was the one trying hardest to like, you know, bring Matt in to various things, and he's the one that Matt is like the most upset with of all of those people. So that's not great, but Matt is potentially on his way out the door. And I think that that Joseph likely has a strong kind of path in front of him where there's still plenty of opportunity. And I do think that he has a good like mind for the game. I think that like hopefully it was a learning experience for him to realize that like, okay, I need to be a little more fluid in how I'm moving. And socially, he actually does very well. Again, very well connected and pretty well positioned at this point. But I will have to agree with the 5 that that even the audience gave Joseph. So we'll go 5s across. Oh, and an odd week 1 5 that is less like purely average and more so that he actually had a lot of positives and negatives to balance out into the middle.
Yep.
Okay, Maggie, how do you feel about Kenney?
I mean, like, I'm gonna be honest. I don't want us to spend that much time talking about Kenney. Like, okay, you're on the block. You want to go home. Like, okay, I'm bored. Like that's how I feel. I'm like, what else is there to say? I don't want to rail forever about him wanting to go home.
Maggie, I do apologize. I must interrupt because there is something that I forgot to do after Joseph.
Wow, a 5.
I was waiting for it. I was like, 5 across the board. I'm like,
yeah, I just am like, okay, we've seen this before. We'll see it again. So it doesn't go his way the first week. He's over it. It's not, he's having trouble fitting in and finding his people. He wants to go home. Like, okay. I don't know that he will. But like,
but he could.
But he could, and like telling people actively that he wants to go home. Like you have to give him a 1 when you tell people that you want to go home. Like that's a 1.
Is that a mom?
I don't know.
That was Suri.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, I recognize her now.
I'm not gonna lie, that took me by surprise. That wasn't the one I was expecting, but it worked.
That was the
like I do think if he hadn't just been like saying more than once, not just like once he said it in a bad moment, like saying it a lot, like I'm like, okay, then I have to give you a 1, you know?
Yeah. A 1 from Maggie and a 2 from the audience.
Generous.
Not quite the 1. I mean, I have to agree. I mean, he did nothing this week. He did nothing this week to advance his game. His closest ally, the guy that because here's the thing. Not only is he on the block, likely at this point a contender to go home, but he did nothing to really like protect himself from the block. He did no active like campaigning to save himself from the block. Maybe there was a shot that if Lisa doesn't win that AI power, he has or the veto, I should say, that he would have had a smaller chance to or a bigger chance to stay. But like, there's just no active work on his part to do anything to advance his own position. In addition to that, he's actively campaigning to go home still, like actively, like going to people and being like, please vote me out, which by itself can often, I think, lead toward a 1. But to make it worse, to make it really solidified into the 1, the guy he is actively campaigning to sacrifice his own game for, just 2 days ago was campaigning for him to leave over Lisa. Like, this is not your guy. As Angela said, he is not your son. Like, this is not the way. It would be one thing if it was like they were bonded for life after 7 days, but they aren't. Like, he has just projected all of this onto Matt. So it's truly, I think, in this case.
Yeah.
A 1.
Yeah, Taran, he's projecting it onto Matt, but also like I said, it hasn't gone his way this week. He's feeling down, I'm sure, and he's probably just over it and wants to go home. Like, he's not like, oh, I'm sacrificing. Like, he's saying I'm sacrificing myself for Matt, but like he's like, I want to go home for my daughter's birthday. Like, he just doesn't want to be there anymore. It's not fun the way he thought it was going to be.
Yeah, he's definitely not playing the game. And I thought that like his wife was a fan of the show, right?
Mhm.
Like I would think that he would want to go and do a good job for her. Like, hasn't she said like quitters are the worst? Don't ever quit, no matter what you do, hun. You fight to the end because that's what a super fan would do. It's just really disappointing, honestly. Like I can't give him higher than a 1 for the fact that there are so many people that would give almost anything to be on the show, in the game, fighting for their life, like having the opportunity to have the summer of their life. And he's
Mhm.
just willing to throw it away for somebody that it's not like they are this duo that's coming in and they've been doing everything together, and like he's like being the mother and sacrificing his game for the other person. Like it's not like that at all. It's just that he wants to throw in the towel because he doesn't want to try and fail. That's what it seems like to me. He doesn't want to try to get the votes, try to stay in the game, and then still go home. And so I think it just leaves a really bad taste in my mouth. And even if he does stay, I don't really have any high hopes for his game moving forward. And so he gets the one from
All
me.
right. All right. Well, let's move on to Chemo then. Let's talk about Chemo because Chemo's in an interesting spot. He's nominated. Will face the AI arena and potentially the eviction vote. And quite frankly, I think the eviction vote being nominated post veto in this season with this twist, in some ways, you could say, well, they still have a chance to save themselves. 1 in 3 chance, in fact. So in some ways, it's like, oh, there's more hope for them. But then in other ways, there's so many things that could go wrong. Even like a person that feels lock safe like Chemo could theoretically, who knows, like, Matt wins the comp and then all of a sudden, are we really voting Chemo out over Kenney? I think in this instance, Chemo does feel very safe. Like it's been a couple of days of people knowing, like ever since Lisa won the veto, people have known, okay, Chemo is likely going to be there at the vote in some capacity. And nobody wants to vote Chemo out. Still, nobody wants to vote Chemo out. There are a couple of like pro Matts. There's, Lisa who's worried about being against Matt. But like, it does feel not impossible, but hard to find the world where Chemo leaves this week right now. But then you do have to take into account, like, he has been a little passive and was a little passive and was part of what got him here. I think that, everything I said about like opportunity certainly still comes into play, but he does feel like generally a fairly passive player in the first place. But all that said, he's now getting involved in some things like the Have Not Alliance, the Mr. Andersons. He's got the connection to Tikor. He is somebody that a lot of people want to protect and bring into things. And so I think his positioning moving out of this week could be pretty good. So all that to say, the audience gave Chemo a 4. And I am going to agree with the audience. I think that's about where I stand on Chemo at this time. But Chantele, feel free to agree or disagree.
I agree wholeheartedly. Now, I really like Chemo as a person, not yet as a player, but I do think that there is potential with him, especially because he is a super fan of the show. And I just wish that like he could have done something to not be on the block. He could have talked to Angela. Like Angela had some enemies already that he could have been, put up instead of him. And so the fact that he was a pawn on this first week, I just think it wasn't great for him to be playing from that position. And I think that he could have likely have gotten out of it. And so for that reason, I am going to be giving him a 4, just like the other people's.
Yeah, and I agree. I'm gonna do the same thing. I think that Chemo was sort of dealt a bad hand here. And like, yes, I agree with you, Chantele. Like he probably could have gotten out there and gotten his footing a little bit more.
Beforehand,
But
like
yeah, like I feel like he has at this point. Like he's gotten his footing. You know, he's that's why it's a 4 here. And he's not really in any real danger of going home. He's gotten his footing. He's, you know, been dealing with the weight of being on the block pretty well. And I hope that this is trending upward for Chemo.
All right. Well, let's move on then to Leah. Leah is a very interesting person to rate as well, because I feel like there's so much potential with Leah that is currently kind of going unmet. She has kind of locked herself in with Mackenzie and Matt. I don't know if she has fallen victim to the like misconception that Matt is running the house or what, but she is very much like a player who is in a bad position right now, but with a lot of potential. And if Matt leaves, I actually think that is a pretty good thing for her game. I think she has a lot of potential options for maneuvering out, especially in a week 2 scenario where something real is finally being solidified. I think that could be very good for her. But she, I think, needs to get to that position soon. So with that in mind, like, is she somebody that could, like, let's say Matt stays. I could absolutely see a scenario where it's like Matt, Mackenzie, Leah on the block, and that's not a great place to be. But even then, you know, she has the hope that like one of those two would leave over her. If Matt goes, I don't really know that a lot of people are looking at Leah. I think a lot of people are actually going to be looking to Leah as a number to pull into their new war because Matt will be gone. And so for that reason, I think I'm going to give her a 5 here, because there's a few different directions her game could go. She has potential, but she has made some mistakes. She could be in a bad spot. She could be in a really good spot. It all really depends on how the next week plays out at this point. So 5 from me. Chantele, what do you think?
I really like Leah. She's definitely a fan favorite with a lot of the audience and the viewers so far. Everybody in the house seems to really like her. She talks a lot, so I'm like, I don't know if that's going to grate on anybody's nerves eventually. But right now, I think that we're amused by her, and I do like this budding friendship, romance, whatever is happening between her and Quinn. That's kind of interesting, and it could be good for her game. So I definitely think I don't think that she's actually playing the game like strategically necessarily yet. I don't get from her that she's a very strategic player or knows how to play this game very well. I think she's kind of just going on vibes and like who she's been hanging out with. It's kind of what I see, which is why I think she's hanging out with Mackenzie and Matt, because you would think that she would realize that the rest of the house was not really feeling those two, but she's still liked by everybody, even though she's been hanging out with Mackenzie and Matt. I think she has upward potential to do well if she kind of can learn the game a little bit more, or show that maybe if she gets some power, we can see maybe how well she could do in this game. But I'm going to agree with you with the 5. I think that she's in the middle of the road. I think that a lot of people like her. She's decently well positioned on both sides. It doesn't seem like, even though she's hanging out with Matt and Mackenzie, that people are like, oh, we got to get rid of her. I haven't seen that, but maybe that will change if, you know, Matt stays and they get power. And like you said, maybe she's going to be the 3rd nominee up there. But at this point, I think she's middle of the road with a lot of potential to go kind of in either direction. So let's stick her at a 5.
All right, Maggie.
Yeah, I'm also going to give Leah a 5. But there are some players that I feel like stick around a 5 for like half the game. And I don't think Leah is one of those players. Like, I think right now we're in a moment with her where it can go one of two ways. And even by next week, we'll know which way it's going. I could see her getting power and us being like, Leah's really good. Like suddenly being in the HOH room, knowing exactly what she needs to say, what she needs to do. But I also could see her like being like, no, I just want to hang out with my friends, have a good time, like whatever, and have to play from the bottom for a little while. I think that there's just a lot of different ways that this could swing, and I'm interested to see what she can do. It's really, like I said at the beginning, it's really hard because there's nothing solidified, and we really don't have like any data. So yeah, that's how I feel.
All right. Well, the audience said,
Wow, another 5.
Thank you.
they also gave Leah a 5. All right, Chantele, how do you feel about Lisa?
Lisa, I don't have the highest of hopes for Lisa. It seems as though she kind of rubs some people the wrong way. She rubs Tucker the wrong way. The fact that, okay, it was cute in the beginning with the glitter, but, you know, Tucker and the Have Not crew were thinking it might have been a little bit calculated with her putting the edible glitter on everything and everyone and asking if they want to eat some. And I think that the cuteness of whatever of her like kind of kooky behavior might run dry pretty soon. She was nominated the first week, and there was a lot of people that Angela does not like that could have been nominated instead of her. And so the fact that she was up on the block isn't great. Awesome that she was able to take herself down. I like the fact that she's, you know, feeling the comp beast within her. And so if that's the direction that she ends up going, that's awesome. Like, keep yourself safe, stay in the game, win some comps. I just don't think that she's likable enough. And the fact that people aren't enjoying her food and they're thinking that she's lying about certain parts of, I just think that she's, not well liked enough in the house to do super well long term. So I would have given her a 5 for the fact that she won the competition, but I just don't know if people are going to want to work with her long term. And I'm going to have to give her a 4, take her down a little bit, a 4.
All right, Maggie.
I mean, how lucky are we that Lisa's on the season, guys? Come on. I can't believe you put her 4th to last. Like, she has no self-awareness. It's amazing. It's so fun. And she also like can't like, the thing about Big Brother, I struggle with this. I want everybody to have a positive feeling about me like all the time. And the thing about Big Brother is that that's completely impossible because of the nature of the game. And she is the type of person that she hears her name across the backyard and literally stops dead in the middle of her conversation and gets up and marches over to everybody and is like, I heard my name. I want to stop these rumors right now, blah, blah, blah. And they were like, we were talking about your job. And she's like, okay, but I know people are talking badly about me, and like wants to set the record straight. And what fun for us. But in the game, like, that gets old. To be in the backyard talking about people's jobs and then have somebody come up and accuse you of like talking poorly about them, that wouldn't bode well for anyone in the house, no matter who they are. She also, like you said, Taran, like, really thought she would never get nominated. And like, what? I just think like she's like a little delusional, which, you know, I love my delusional players. And I had to give her a 3 because she won her way off the block, which is, you know, nothing to, you know, look poorly on. But it didn't win her any goodwill with the house. Nobody's like, oh, Lisa is somebody I really want to work with because she's proven she can win competitions. I feel like, if anything, because people aren't vibing with her, they're going to be like, and she can win competitions, we got to get her out of here.
Fair.
So I'm going to do a 3.
I could be swayed.
Well, maybe the audience can sway you because they also gave Lisa a 3. And I have to agree. I think that, you know, Lisa, she won the veto, but she was the target before.
That's true.
I know.
That's true.
I know.
And to make matters worse, she's still a big target.
Yes.
A lot of people think she has a power that she doesn't. She is one of the only people that doesn't really know what's happening with the vote. And there are a lot of people that just like don't like her very much. People associate her with Matt, but in the meantime, she's like arguing with Matt a lot. It's just not a very good position to be in. And so she's one of the people I think I'm more concerned about heading into next
Mhm.
week in terms of like just such an easy target, especially if Matt's already gone. Like she's the perfect target for a week 2 HOH to get no blood on their hands and create a solid structure off the back of like making a solid move. So I would be very concerned if you are Lisa moving into next week, and I will also
Swayed.
give her a 3.
I'm swayed.
Are you changing?
100%. The fact that you're just
Alright.
like, everybody hates her. She's done. Yeah,
I don't want to say that. I don't want to say
H
that.
word,
Like
sorry.
Tucker hates her. Tucker
Yes.
definitely hates her. I don't want to say that like everyone hates her.
Well, I don't
just
think they appreciate being confronted by her about certain
Yes,
things.
exactly.
And I think that energy they don't feel like having for 90 days.
Yeah, exactly.
85, 82, whatever.
All right, let's move on then to Mackenzie. Maggie, how do you feel about Mackenzie?
So Mackenzie is the closest person to enemy number 1 in the house in Matt. Like I kind of feel a bit of a blind spot in my Mackenzie opinion. I feel like
her name.
Yeah, her that to me does not read as Mackenzie, but yes.
Makesy's.
But Mackenzie. I think if Matt, similarly to Leah, I think that if Matt leaves, Mackenzie can probably find her footing somewhere else and sort of blend in. Perhaps. But also, like if you win next week and you're trying to get Lisa out, Mackenzie's a great pawn to put up there. And if something goes wrong, she might just go.
Who knows about her power?
Right. I think we can't forget that she does have a power, which is not a great power, but it is basically immunity for a week,
Okay.
which is, I think, very key for her current position.
Okay, yeah, then you're right. And with that in mind, I'm going to give her a 4.
All right. Well, the audience agrees, and I agree. I probably gave that away with that, because that's exactly the reason. I am exactly where you are. Like, you know, I think that basically her power kind of like puts her back into a position where, like, yes, she's in some immediate trouble, but she should have guaranteed 1 extra week to get back into a good place, especially if Matt leaves this week. I think that she is in a position where she has the opportunity to get back into a better place. Now, my issue is I'm not sure that she's like got the capability to utilize that opportunity. I haven't really seen much of that from her yet, but who knows, when you have some time to adjust, and she's connected to Leah, who is a bit more socially fluid, like her connection to Leah might actually help her get in with some more people. And there's a world where I could see things improving for her, but right now I'm not quite sure. What do you think, Chantele?
I think that for Mackenzie to do better in this game, Matt absolutely needs to leave. She needs to start making new friends. She needs to be making some new connections. She seems decently likable, but I don't know why she's talking about the HOH while you cannot like Angela, but maybe pick and choose when you talk about her.
You're so right. I forgot about that. Like, she has no game sense.
Right. But maybe when Matt's out of the picture and it's she has a different view of how things are going down, she might turn on that comp beast ability and become the Angela 2.0 that people are calling her. And she could maybe last a little bit longer and then maybe learn how to play the game along the way. So I don't have super high hopes for her. I was probably going to end up at around a 3 for her, just from she's not really playing very well at all, but she's safe no matter what next week. And if she's not a target next week, she's safe for the week after. So potentially she could be here for a little bit longer than a 3 would warrant. So I agree with all of y'all, a 4.
All right. Let's move on then to Matt. How do we feel about Matt? I think we are starting with
Audience,
the
I think.
audience on Matt.
Mhm.
And I can tell you that the audience gave Matt a 2. And tempted as I may be to give him a 1 because of some very awful gameplay, I will also give him a 2 because he's not trying to leave.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's not Kenney. So I will give him the. But man, this is definitely a pretty bad first week of gameplay from a guy who, unlike Kenney, should be in a considerably better position, given just
Yep.
like the positioning you come in to as this archetype. He is a very social guy. He's a very physical guy. He's a very good-looking guy. And he is a very charismatic guy as well. Like, I do think can be very likable. The problem is he knows all of those things and will not let you forget them. And so that causes some issues here in the game. He has made some really terrible plays, including just consistently being unwilling to promise anyone anything, like for their vote to stay. Yeah, sorry, I can't promise I won't put you up next week. For staying off the block. Yeah, sorry, I can't promise you I won't put you up next week. Like, he is so confident that he has the whole house that he doesn't feel like he needs to make any kind of offers. And
It's
it's
giving.
tanking it.
Sorry, it's giving like a little bit like the situationship guy who's like, oh yeah, like I know we've been hanging out every day for 3 months, and like I met your parents last week, but like, no, I'm
We're
sorry,
not
I
closed
can't have a
off. We're not
girlfriend.
exclusive.
Yeah, like I can't have a girlfriend, like it's giving like a little bit of that.
Wants to have options. He doesn't want to lock it down.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's not great. It's not great, and it's going very poorly. And if he doesn't win that AI arena competition, I do think that he is, by a decent margin, the more likely person to be voted out at this point. He's theoretically the most likely person to win the AI arena competition, but that's only if they kind of go back to their old ways and don't continue on the way they've been doing this season, which is a bit more equitable. So. Listen, I think a lot has already been said about Matt, and I just said some more. I don't think there's a lot more else for me to say at this point. Chantele, what do you think?
I actually feel kind of bad for Matt because, sometimes when people likely he has lived most of his life being really good looking and really good at things and really great at making friends and always having a girlfriend. Like, he's probably just never really had to develop like a good personality, just to just being, he should be able to relate a little bit to Angela, but Angela completely has shut him out, and he's not able to, I don't know, find humor, find some sort of common ground. Like, he's never really had to work really hard or at all probably to connect with other people that are not innately like him. And so I just feel bad for him in the sense that this is probably really painful for him because he probably doesn't know, like, what he usually does is just not working. And he has a lot of confidence, and his confidence is probably going to get knocked down pretty quickly if he does not win that competition, which I would give him a 1 if he wasn't going to be so likely to win that competition. So he gets the 2 from me for the fact that I can very easily see him winning that and staying in the game. But I also have to give him the 2 just because I feel bad for him, just because I think that this is a big hit to his ego, and he's probably never experienced anything like this before.
All right, Maggie, what do you think?
Matt. Are you gonna join in? Crazy eyes.
Wait, will you read the the tweet, the RHAP tweet?
Let me find it. In the meantime, I will give you my thoughts on Matt, which is, he I think that you're on to something, Chantele, in the fact that, like, I mean, I don't know his whole story. Like, maybe he has faced a lot of, adversity and hardship. But I know personally that on premiere night, when he came on the screen during his intro package, I said about 17 times to my best friend, that's the most handsome man we've ever had on Big Brother. Like, he's so attractive. Like, he just is unbelievably. He looks like freaking Prince Charming. And yes, he does give crazy eyes sometimes. But like, I can't imagine that it has been difficult for him to connect with people in his life, because he's like, he's level-headed enough that he got like yelled at in front of the whole house and didn't, imagine that happening to like Jackson Mickey on day 7. Like the way that he would have reacted versus the way that Matt reacted. Like he's not like a bad dude. I think he just like doesn't live in a world. Yeah, like doesn't live in a world where like maybe everybody isn't obsessed with him all the time. And that's great for him. I wish I lived in that world. I was living in that world, being obsessed with him, watching his intro package because of how handsome he was, So I think that it's just one of those things. And I'm also going to give him a 2, but Matt, you must be really proud of yourself. I mean, really taking advantage of this situation. You are literally taking advantage of a woman twice your age who is sleep deprived and had a responsibility beyond matter. You were able to single-handedly turn this freaking house upside down against this person. I am so flattered that I am a threat to you. I am so freaking flattered. I won't do the rest.
Is that your new monologue for auditions?
Yeah, I'm gonna work on it. Maybe I'll do a performance on the slop. Become a patron. Watch the slop.
So I'm seeing some things on the feeds right now. I don't know if this is an entirely accurate quote, but I'm seeing from Big Brother Junkie that Lisa is telling Angela right now that being associated with her will hurt her professionally on the outside world, and therefore they need to like distance themselves.
Lisa and Angela?
Yeah. I don't know how. Listen, that's the tweet. I don't know if that's it seems like it's a bit of a paraphrase.
Lisa is nuts. She's wrong for that. If that's true.
What the problem is, she doesn't recognize that Angela is a celebrity. She has been on Dr. Phil.
That's true. Dr. Phil. Maybe she won money on The Price is Right,
She won money on Let's Make a Deal. She won $20,000.
With the one with Wayne Brady?
Yeah.
So it's recent too. Yeah, I was like, I need to go back and watch that.
Okay, it's being clarified. She said she doesn't want to be associated with Angela inside the house and outside the house.
Oh, wow.
Oh, good.
So both.
That's not great. I have a question though.
She said privately, professionally, personally, both inside or outside.
I'm so sorry. Thundercats in the chat just said, I love Delulu on Delulu Crime. Me! Thundercats, me! Yes!
Oh man, this is quite the journey here. I almost want to drop both of their ratings right now. But we won't. We will move on to Quinn.
I do have one question, though, before we move from Matt. So I remember that you were implying that Melissa, no matter what for the draft, was going to choose Matt was one of the people, and Tucker. Did she choose Tucker or did she choose Matt in the end?
She chose Tucker, and she might have also chosen... who got Matt? I don't remember now.
Okay, so hopefully she could maybe do a rant post on how she feels about Matt. That's what I would like to. I was waiting for. I was like, "Yay, we're gonna get to have a Melissa rant about Matt," because I know that she liked him or wanted to pick him. You know what I mean? So, anyways, okay. I'll ask her.
I'm very happy with my Cam over Matt decision because it was really I was taking one of the bros and I really felt better about Cam, and some of the others were
Better
like, I don't know, we
decision.
feel better about Matt.
I hope Matt gets a second shot to be on Love Island. That's where he belongs. You know,
Not in this season though. This season was excellent as it was. Maybe next season.
All right, let's talk about Quinn because Quinn's an interesting one. Quinn, I think, should be at the top spot here of the week, given the fact that he has such a powerful power, and on top of that, is in a very powerful position, socially, strategically. Like things are going pretty well for Quinn, but there are a couple of crucial errors here. His association with Angela, Lisa could have told him, not the greatest. Not the greatest, especially given that he's told her about his power. He's now also told Chemo about his power. And I really don't know how close they are at this point. He's in a bunch of the alliances, though. He does have this power. I think that there's a lot of reason to be very high on Quinn's position in the game. But he doesn't seem to yet have anything super solid. Like if I'm comparing him to Chelsea and Cedric and Cam, I think he's in a better spot than Cedric, and he has the power, which helps him there as well. But when it comes to Chelsea, he's not quite as agile in the groups, and he doesn't have this like power structure locked in like she does. When I think about him versus Cam, I think that he is like a more active player, more knowledgeable about the game. He has the power. Those are very good things. But again, it's like, does he have the same amount of power base and locked in sort of thing yet? And it doesn't seem like yes. Like if we're comparing the power base of Cam, Cedric, Chelsea to Quinn, Angela, Chemo, like it's like, oh, I don't know. That does not seem quite as solid to me as the other thing. So I think that it will balance out to be just under Chelsea, just around where Cam is. I think there's tons of potential for Quinn to move up, especially given his power. But I would really like to see him like actually lock in with a solid power base. And so I will give him a 7.
So you say that there's room to move up, but how he's deciding or just him talking out using his power with becoming
If he does that, I'm no.
I mean, just the fact that it's something that he thought about, which I think is just so bad. So if he really is tinkering with the idea of becoming head of a household and then using his superpower that a few people know about, but not that many people know about, to blame it on Lisa, who people think that has the power, but it could easily be debunked if you just find out the other people that were in her group. It's just really inane. And so I would love to have given him an 8, because I'm like, I like Quinn, I like what he's doing. And then he started talking and telling people about this and having this really bad idea of what to do with his power, that I'm going to stick with you because I do agree with you that he's in the same ballpark as the Cam Chelsea's Cedric's of this world, but I'm going to stick with the 7. So I agree with you at the 7. I would have wanted to go a little bit higher for him because of how powerful that power is, but the way that he wants to use it scares me. So I'm going to be reserved here. 7.
All right, Maggie.
I'm actually going to give him an 8. Because I think that what you were talking about today, Taran, weird. I don't think
weird
he'll
is
do that.
Terrible gameplay.
Yeah, I don't think he'll do I don't know. I'm just kind of like I don't think that was like real. Like what? Because that doesn't line up at all with the rest of the gameplay that we've seen. And also, like, I do think sometimes people in the house can get like sort of tunnel vision on like what they want to accomplish and like spitball out the way to make that happen. And he was like, I don't want anyone. I think he was panicking because he told Angela, who went crazy eyes in front of the whole house, that he had the power. And I think he was panicking and was like, I don't want this to blow back on me. And how can I make it so it doesn't? And that was sort of the lane that he was in. But I can't imagine.
She already knows that. So like him blaming it on Lisa.
No, I know. But I think he's like, I don't want like her to tell everybody and me to get in trouble. And this is like a way to, I don't know. I'm going to give him an 8. I'm sticking with the 8 because I do think he's like a 7 level player, and the
power, I suppose.
Yeah, the power is great. And
All
Melissa's
right.
in the chat. Hi, Melissa.
Hello, Melissa.
Melissa.
Well, the audience agrees with us, Chantele. The audience gave Quinn a 7. So there you go. Okay.
Wait, sorry. She said in the chat, Melissa said
Oh,
that
boy.
she was not supposed to have a baby for another 3 weeks, but high blood pressure made them induce her early. Melissa, I didn't want to ask. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, exactly. Congratulations.
Congratulations. I hope you have a smooth delivery. This is so amazing. This is
Oh my God, baby's
so
born on your half
exciting.
birthday. On your half birthday
Oh
is your
my
birthday's
gosh.
baby. That's cute. That's your summer
Aw.
birthday. Your summer baby. Well, congratulations, Melissa.
Congrats. This is the best
Yay.
news.
I think my favorite part about this is that Melissa is currently in the hospital watching us.
Yes.
We love you.
Yay.
Have a safe delivery.
Well,
So exciting.
Yes, congratulations. We hope everything goes well. And we hope to have you back at some point
Mhm.
to talk Big Brother. I know she mentioned earlier that she has a lot to say. So I'm sure we'll get it eventually.
She's going to have a lot of late night time to watch the feeds. I know, with a little one.
Yeah, and you'll need it because you won't be able to rewind.
Yeah.
It's the baby alarm clock for the feeds. It'll work great.
No, sorry. People in the chat are be like, mother, like, no, but literally mother. Literally mother. Oh
All
my gosh,
right.
wait, sorry. I'm so sorry. Amon said something really funny too. He said, can she call in real quick? Let's have her give an honorary rating from the hospital and Christmas.
Well, she's of course free to do whatever she would like, but I'm
Yeah.
sure
Busy.
she's
A little
got
busy.
some other things she's dealing with. All right. Well, in the meantime, she's certainly free to give some more thoughts in the chat if she's still around. But let's move on to Rubina here. Yes, it's Doobie Boy in the chat. The married mother high games. Melissa, how does it feel to be in contention to be the first married mother to win Big Brother?
Or the draft.
Yeah. I don't know. Has a married mother won a draft? I think if you say Nicole has won some drafts, I'm not sure if I'm sure she must have participated in some early on. So I don't know.
Has Mari ever done a draft?
I don't know that she's done one. I was thinking Mari too, but I can't think of at least like a Big Brother or Survivor draft. So I'm not sure, but the spot may or may not be open at this point. But all right, let's talk about Rubina. Chantele, what are your thoughts
Is it me?
on Rubina?
Oh gosh.
so.
I mean, I like Rubina. I think she's sweet. She's so bite-sized. She's so cute. I think that she's liked by most people. I'm still curious as to why the whole rating at the beginning she was so low, because I thought that she might have been a little bit more liked by the audience. I I just don't know. I don't have that much to give, like to work with for her. From all of the alliances that I'm seeing that I wrote down, there might be more that I'm forgetting. I guess she's involved in two or three, which just seems pretty good. Seems like people like having her around. They want to talk to her. I just don't know. So she's another person that I'm going to have to smack dab it in the middle and give her a 5. You can tell me more though. I just don't know much about her.
Maggie, what do you think?
Exact same thing. I don't know enough about her. She's like kind of irrelevant game wise. I feel based off of, everything that I've been consuming. There hasn't been a ton of strategy talk with her on the feeds. There's been like a little here and there to show that she's at least like getting something moving, which is why she's not lower than a 5. But I really don't know what to make of her. And I hope that in the coming weeks, we're like, wow, what a great buy. Rabina week 1,
I mean, it could be the strategy.
Yeah, I don't know. I just really have no idea. Taran, can you give us some insight?
I feel like I can't. I feel like I'm unlike some of the other 5s here, where like Leah, she's got some promise, but she's in a kind of a weird spot right now. Could go one way or the other. And then Joseph, who's like done some good things, some bad things. Rabina is the kind of classic week 1 5, just because we don't really know. She's in a very sort of middling position, and could do well, could be pulled into something bigger, but also could just end up giving nothing, because she's not very active. It's just very little known, and I think we have to default to kind of a neutral position. And so we do, in fact, have
wow, another 5.
Another one. All right, let's move on to T-Core. Maggie, how do you feel about T-Core?
A little similar. I think, T-Core is somebody who I fear could be left behind when the house solidifies a little bit. But she is trying socially and she is making like good social inroads. I just don't know that that's translating to strategic partnerships, if that makes sense. People like her, but I'm not certain that people are like, oh, I really want to work with T-Core in the game. Yeah, so for that reason, I also am gonna have to give her a 5.
5 for T-Core. The audience does agree, as do I. I did actually think, like, I do think there's potential here for T-Core. I think she's been involved in some good conversations. And I think that there is potential here, more so than I've been able to see from Rubina. Not that I think Rubina doesn't have potential, but I've just seen more of T-Core on the feeds. But she also has a bit more of the negatives that we've seen. She was considered for a pawn for a weird amount of time. And then early on, there was talk of her going on the block as well. I think that she is somebody that might be defaulted into a pawn position if she doesn't start to get a little more active, just based on that conversation. So
I do, agree with that.
So ultimately, I'll go with a 5 there as well. Chantele?
And so, with T-Core, the fact that like she had some pluses, she has an alliance kind of or something going on with her and Cedric, and we're saying Cedric's pretty well positioned, well liked. But then the fact that it seems like everybody wants to use her as a pawn or throw her name in the hat, like the ring, or throw her name, whatever. But the analogy I'm trying to make. It just, why do people want to just get rid of her so easily? Which was really unfortunate because I like her, what I've seen so far, but it doesn't seem like anybody is putting her as a valuable piece in their game, except for seemingly Cedric. I think she's in another alliance. What is the collective again? Is that a real thing or not a real thing?
No, not really.
Okay.
Anymore. It was the attempt. That was the low budget movie that Angela was talking about.
Quinn was upset because he really wanted to use the collective as an alliance name, and then they just threw it away.
Oh, it's gone. Okay, yeah. Okay, got it. So yeah, she had some positives, but then some negatives, and so I think that she was fluctuating between a 4 and a 6, and we're gonna land at a 5. So Wow, another 5.
Wow, another 5.
Wow, indeed. All right, that leaves us with Tucker. Tucker, the final player on the board here. I mean, luckily for me, I think usually the first week we have a lot of 5s. For me, they're going to be a little bit backloaded here, and I'm just going to give Tucker a 5 as well. I think that he has some amount of promise in the sense that he is being very active. My concern is that the only reason he's being so active is because he's been sort of like lit. If that like the canon of Tucker has been lit by Matt saying I volunteered you for the block. And that if he doesn't have that fire under him, he might default back to the first few days of the game where he was a little more passive. And on top of that, I think that he has allies, but I don't know that he has like a lot of really solid like personal connections quite yet. He spends a lot of time like dunking on Lisa, which I think is like funny, but like maybe hard to connect with. And you know, I say that actually, but like I think there have been some off-feed conversations he's had with people like Chemo that connected him to them. So I do think he still has that potential, but I also like, you know, like I said, I very much envision him as being shot out of a cannon. And in some ways that's good. In some ways, I don't really know. You know, like he's just kind of moving. And the whole thing about like, I volunteered, I'm happy to go on the block, is one of those things where it's like, does he need to be doing this? Does it add to his game in any meaningful way? Not really. And if anything, it could hurt his game. It's fun for us to watch, but I'm not sure that it's like strategically sound. So I'm gonna go with a 5 for Tucker here as well. But Chantele, what do you think?
I mean, it's the first week and there's not much to go on. I really like him. I would love to be giving him a higher score than average, but can I? No, not really, because he really hasn't done enough. Like he's done some good stuff and he's done some not so good stuff. And so like all many of the other 5s, he's going to be hovering between a 4 and a 6 for me, and he's landing at a 5. I do find him funny, and I think that his other house guests will agree that he's kind of a funny character. I actually think that they like him bitching about Lisa, because like,
Yeah.
sometimes when you find like a common enemy or somebody that you can be making fun of or talking about, like it does bond people together potentially. So I do think that people will like him, and even if he's not playing that well, I think he does have longevity. Like I just don't see people wanting to target him next, but I don't see him doing that much to actively move the needle forward in his game. So right now he's a 5. He has room to move in either direction. Not sure which way it's going to go because he's a pretty wild card kind of player, but I am thrilled and excited to see how his game shakes out because he's a fun one. And he was my number 1 pick on one of my draws. So I'm like, let's see how this goes, Tucker.
Well, yeah, I mean, speaking of Melissa, that was her number 1 pick. Maggie, what do you think about Tucker?
Fun.
I have a lot to say, actually.
Ooh, give it.
So I have a mutual friend with Tucker. I know somebody who went to college.
You are friends with Cody Calafiori.
Yes, yes. No, I know somebody who went to college with him. And when I found out he was on the show and looked him up on Instagram and saw she followed him, I was like, how do you know this person? And she said that he was really sweet, like a really nice, good guy. And like you can see that obviously. I think he's got a really like a ton of personality. I can't wait to see what they do with him on the show. I feel like he's got a lot of potential for some fun stuff on the show. I think that he got gun shy at the beginning about wanting to be in alliances and stuff, but I know what you mean, Taran, about being like, I'm worried that like the fire was lit under him about Matt, but like if that leaves, then that won't, like, I understand your concern, but I think maybe it just made him wake up and be like, there is game being played and I've got to do it. Otherwise I'm going to get left behind. He is a certified hater, but also not negative, which I do feel is an important distinction because that sort of thing, like the bonding you to people, like over a common enemy, is only fun when you're not overly negative about it.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And like she has given him reason to like not like her, you know, what she did in the episode when he like, why did she have to do all that? Lisa, you're doing too much. But I sort of, kind of, it all remains to be seen, but he does remind me of somebody that we've watched play twice now. And their second time, they were much, much better. Who do you think I'm going to say, Chantele?
Enzo.
Yes, like he's reminding me a little. He's like
Meow,
a little
meow.
bit of an Enzo vibe. And so
are they from the same area?
I actually think so. Yeah. I just think like his sense of humor endears him to people and maybe makes people think that he is not
Do you have a
thinking.
crush on Tucker?
No, not at all. I just think that he is interesting. Like I feel like he's not a player that we see very often because he's more personality forward. So I'm interested to like, I think he's like Enzo. I think he's like a little Zach Rancy too, without like the manic stuff, just like really personality forward.
He's probably who I'd hang out with, like if I was on that cast. I'd be like, he entertains me. I like hanging out with him. He's funny.
Yeah, definitely. I also think that I would join in a little bit in the haterness.
Hundo.
You know, it's fun.
All right. So what is the rating?
Oh, 6.
A 6 for Tucker from Maggie. And I can tell you that the audience disagreed with me and Chantele. They gave Tucker a 6 as well. So 6 for Tucker. No more 5s. There it is. Tucker with a 6. And that's the ratings. That's what we've got.
Whew.
Wow. We
That was
did
hard.
that. We made good time. We really did make good time.
I thought we were going to do 3 hours.
Me too.
We had a baby announcement. We had
very eventful.
A Lisa Angela fight. And still we got through it all. So quite the Stockwatch here. All right. Well, this is how things work here. You can now go. I say now, but it's actually I don't think working exactly properly yet, so you might have to wait a little bit. But you can soon go to realitystockwatch.com. You can sign in, and you can play the game. You will get some starting money. You can buy shares of a player that you think will be around next week and have their rating increase next week. There is a formula that was devised by me a while ago that I no longer understand how it functions at all. But that formula will determine, based on the new rating, what price increase or decrease will happen with the players. So you have until the eviction episode on Thursday to make your decision, at which point you will lock in, and the market will be closed until the next roundtable. So that is how it will work. If you put your money in a player that gets evicted for any reason, essentially, you will lose that money. That money's gone. If you put your money in somebody who gets a much worse rating next time, you might lose some money. You put money into somebody who does really well next time, you will gain some money. So it's fake money, by the way. Fake money. It's not real money. It's very fake. And that's
you get
basically
$20
how it
every week, right? Doesn't he get $20 no matter what every week?
Something like that. Yes, you will get some amount back to continue to play if you would like to, even if you lose everything.
Taran, I just realized how long I've been like watching RHAP and play, like, because I remember that you get badges when you win, like if your player wins. So BB21, it was a watermelon. BB22 was a soccer ball. What was it for 23, 24, and 25? Do you remember? Sorry, I know I'm putting you on the spot. People in the chat probably will
The
know.
problem is we now have a server error.
Great.
So I cannot check, but
23B.
24 was I'm seeing was a sword, perhaps.
Okay.
The sword,
Yeah, that
tailored
makes
sword.
sense.
And then we never did 25, so we just put 25. That was the new badge for 25.
Oh.
It may be a new badge convention. If people like it or hate it, we can always change it to something else. But we forgot about the badge last year, so we rushed to put one up before the season started and put it 25.
And maybe 23 was like a pot or something for the cookout or something. No, I don't know. But I'm just guessing. But I have no idea.
23, I think, was maybe like a chess piece.
Oh yeah.
Perhaps. Or no, that was not 23. I forget what it was. But anyway, yes, you get badges if you do well.
Mhm.
Never seen any of those.
Me either. I can't play.
I'm going to
terrible.
try this time though, because I'm here from the beginning. And so I'm going to see if I can be diligent and play the whole way through.
All right. Well, that's how you play. You can go to realitystockwatch.com. You can't currently because the site's down because you all went to it at the same time. But eventually it will work. So check back in when you have some time and when it's hopefully also ready. And you can play along at home. That is the fun little game that we play here on the Roundtable. Beyond that, we've got more coverage coming your way. Tomorrow morning, I'll be back to update you on everything that happened today on the Big Brother 26 live feeds, including apparently what just went down with Lisa and Angela. I'm seeing another potential quote here saying, Lisa says that at this point, it compromises her integrity to be associated with Angela, both inside and outside that. Feeds have been down since this happened, by the way, also.
So something happened, likely.
It's, who knows at this point.
Is something happening tomorrow on the live feed updates?
Isn't it a new Wartenberger Wednesday? Isn't that
I think
a new coined name?
I saw that teased. I wasn't sure if it was.
Yes, I think we might be invaded by the Wurtenberger clan, and we might have a Wurtenberger show his mustachioed face at the live feed update.
Okay, can't wait.
So we'll see. We'll see how it goes with Corey. And then of course tomorrow there's also going to be an episode. I believe is this episode. They changed the schedule for the episodes.
Yeah, they're going to be at 8. 8
and
now.
Sunday's still 9.
Sunday is still 9, but Wednesday and Thursday will be 8. Although I think there might be some counter programming tomorrow. So who knows? Who knows when the episode's going to be on? But either way, I'll be on Twitch watching it, and then we'll be live afterward to talk about it. If you want, of course, I've got a little kitten plushie that you can pre-order. The pre-order will last for roughly 1 more week, and then it's gone forever. You'll miss out on your chance to get a cool little robot kitten that is very fun. And we've got getaway coverage. We've got we got scripted TV coverage. There's lots of fun things. Chantele. What do you got going on?
Well, I did step in for Jessica Leese with Dan Heaton and talked about the Amazing Race Canada last week. So we can tune in and listen to that. And then otherwise, you can find me on Twitter at Shan___Fran or at ShanFranFran on Instagram or at Reality Realness with 3 S's on YouTube.
All right. I am seeing that it sounds like people are saying it is officially delayed because of the Biden counter programming. So 9 p.m. tomorrow likely is what it is currently. So there you go. Maggie, what do you got going on?
Yeah, so I'm excited for Big Brother season because I was sort of a last minute addition to this podcast. You'll see me a couple of times popping up this week. Yeah, I'm just hanging out. You can find me on TikTok and Instagram at @MLMorgan_. That's where I'll be if you want to come say hey. And I'll be here back in the BB streets. I'm ready to go.
We're back, baby.
We are back. All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us this week, the first week of Big Brother Canada. Or sorry, Big Brother 26. No more Big Brother Canada.
Whoa.
And we will see all of you next time.